What up, guys? Coach Liam here. So today's video, we are covering a little bit on the idea of progressive overload. So if you're someone who is, you have a fitness goal, you want to change the way you look, you want to get stronger, you want to get better for sport, you probably know what progressive overload is. You've probably heard it said before in some kind of video. Basically, today's video is about 12 minutes long, maybe 10 minutes, and it covers this concept more in depth. Now, before we go into that, one quick thing I do want to cover is the idea of exercise being different from training. So you might think, oh, what's the difference in those two? Maybe you already know and you can skip this part. But basically, exercise is movement, like purposeful movement, but not necessarily with a goal in mind. At least how I view it. So exercise could be, I'm going to go to a yoga class, I'm going to do a spin class, I'm going to go outside and chop wood for an hour, I'm going to purposely take my dog for a longer walk than normal. It's just you're moving your body in a purposeful manner, but maybe you don't have an end goal. You're not training for a lumberjack competition. You're not training to be the best yoga competitor in the world, if that's the thing. But training is like, hey, my goal is I want to get stronger. So like progressively, you follow a plan and you try and measure and purposely increase your strength. Or I have a hockey tournament coming up. I'm going to train to get better at the sport of hockey. You follow something with structure, with a plan, and you progress that way. So today's video covers the concept of training. This does not really apply to exercise. You could apply it. You could do, slightly longer amounts of class schedules and stuff like that with either way, not the goal of today's video. So today's video is all about progressive overload. How can you implement it into your own workout routine? And what are the different ways progressive overload exists in a routine? Enjoy. Okay, training. So we know what training means now. Now, when we train, how can we make sure that we are constantly progressing? How do we make sure that we're getting results? How do we make sure that the signal we send to our body is indisputable? It is, hey, body, you need to do what I tell you to do. And I want you to, gain some muscle. I want you to lose fat. Like, you're going to obey me. It's like the brain imposing its will on the body. Now, to do that, we need to slowly, incrementally increase the amount of stress we're placing on our body. But we can't go from here to here because you'll probably get hurt or you'll get so sore that you don't want to go back to the gym. Unsustainable. Progressive overload is basically the idea of incremental increase in difficulty. In the gym, there's like 4 or 5 main ways, I view at least, that you can do this. The most common one would be increasing the amount of reps you do. So I go to the gym and I do squats. Week 1, I do 3 sets of 8 reps. Week 2, I do 3 sets of 10 reps. Week 3, I do 3 sets of 12 reps, etc. Now, there's going to get to a point where, depending on your goals, you don't want to go above too many reps. So what you might want to do in the second category, so you have reps, then maybe you have sets. So maybe you're like, I want to signal to my body that strength is the goal. So maybe you're only doing sets of 5 reps or 8 reps. Okay. Maybe you decide that you're going to add a 4th set. So you do, instead of 3 sets, 3 sets of 6 reps. Maybe then you do 4 sets of 6 reps. So you're still doing a higher amount of difficulty per squat because you're doing less reps, so you can go heavier, but you're not doing an extra set to get additional volume, which is, more overall damage we're doing to your muscles. So sets. So we have reps, sets. Next would be, you could say load. So maybe in that squat example, you started out and you're just doing your body weight. 3 sets of 8 reps of your body weight. And then as you progress, maybe you get a dumbbell in your hand and then suddenly you're doing 10 pounds in week 1, 3 sets of 10 reps, 10 pounds. Week 2, you go 3 sets of 10 reps at 15 pounds. Week 3, 3 sets of 10 reps at 20. Now, when you're a beginner, you're going to be able to go very linear. You'll be able to make PRs every week, week over week, as long as you're not being a dickhead in your recovery or you're not getting blackout drunk every weekend or eating like garbage. Like, assuming you're doing the bare minimum in your lifestyle and nutrition, you're going to make PRs every week. But at some point, the gains get harder and harder to come by. So, for example, myself, training for 12 years now, almost 13, I can't go to the gym every week and increase my squat by 10, 20 pounds on the bar every week. It's just, there's going to be a point where I'm just not going to be able to hit those lifts. I'm going to start failing the reps. So it's like the gains will be, it might be more like 1 week I add an extra rep, or 1 week I add an extra 5 pounds, or it's much more nickeling and diming it versus the huge jumps when you're a beginner. So yeah, you can increase load. So you have reps, you have sets, you have load. That's 3. 4 would be, we could increase the time under tension. So if your goal is, most common goal I hear is like, oh, I want to tone up, I want to lose weight, I want to look better naked. Great. So basically that's 2 goals in one. I want to build a little bit of muscle, or at minimum, I want to maintain my lean muscle while I lose body fat. Because, you want to send that signal to your body that the muscle is important, because you don't want to lose weight and then look fatter. That is not the goal. Like, I've never once heard someone say like, hey, Liam, yeah, I want to weigh 30 pounds less on the scale and I still want to look like a bag of milk. Like, I'm sorry, no one says that. So it's like, you want to keep your muscle mass. So to do that, time under tension is great. If you watch a film like Pumping Iron, they're going really slow on those reps. They're increasing the time under tension. So if you count to 5 Mississippis and you're doing a bench press, if I'm counting on the way down to my chest and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bar hits my chest, 1, 2, pause for a second, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, push. That's like 7 or 8 seconds per rep. If you're doing 10 reps, that's like 80 seconds straight of time under tension on your chest. You're doing a lot of damage. You're tearing a lot of muscle fibers. You're sending a very, very compelling argument and signal to your body saying, hey, we need these chest muscles. So if we're in a calorie deficit and your body's determining, which box is in the attic to get rid of because it needs to make up the difference in the calorie balance in your body, it's not going to tap into those chest muscles because it needs them. Recently it used them. It's like, no, that's pretty important. So time under tension is great if you want to maximize the amount of muscle in your body. You want to look better. You want to be a better athlete. Most people should focus on time under tension. I would say it's probably the number one thing I notice in beginners is that the reps are really fast and really uncontrolled in the weight room. I see it all the time looking around. And I try not to be that guy and that dick that walks over to people and like, hey, you're doing this wrong. But I mean, I remember being a 14, 15-year-old unguided preteen teenager in the gym doing that myself. And I would have loved if someone would have showed me a better way. So, sometimes I will, with their permission, try and help people in that way. But yeah, just a little bit more control, time under tension, their tempo, most commonly the eccentric section of the phase, the controlling after you've lifted it. That's going to do most of the damage to your muscle. That's going to be the best for gaining size, hypertrophy. Most of the time, the concentrics of the actual lifting of the weight, it's pretty good for strength gains. Now, obviously, both of them kind of intertwine with each other, but just a general rule of thumb. So we have reps, sets, load, which is weight, and time under tension, tempo. I would say the last main variable, and I probably missed some, but that's okay. These are the main ones, would be you could alter your rest time. So if you're doing a squat example again, let's say you're getting stronger, you're a couple months in, you're doing 50 pounds now with the dumbbell. If you're doing 3 sets of 10 reps at 50 pounds and you're resting 90 seconds between those sets, that weight is going to feel much, much harder, and you're going to get much, much more stimulus, and your heart rate's going to go much higher if you suddenly cut that rest period from 90 down to 45 seconds or 90 down to 30 seconds. So if you start altering your rest periods, this is when you start to see certain types of interval training come into play. So let's say you did a superset where you did one exercise in your upper body, one exercise in your lower body, like a dumbbell press incline, and you do like a goblet squat. You're doing 10 reps of each with like a 4 or 5 second eccentric. So you're doing like 6 seconds of tension per rep. If you do those 2 movements and you pair them together, and then you only take 30 seconds of rest after the second exercise, so you do dumbbell press, no rest, straight into squats, 30 seconds, and then you go again. Unless you have extraordinary endurance, which if you do, I implore you to get into endurance sports or something like that. It's going to get really hard to continually hit those same rep schemes as your sets go on, because you're hitting more and more into that fatigue. So that's going to make it exponentially harder. I guess it's a great point to kind of sum up the video is there's 2 concepts. There's one called reps in reserve. So RIR, which is basically saying like you did that 10th rep on your dumbbell press, let's say, And in your brain, if I was sitting there watching you as a personal trainer and I'm like,
All right, Liam, great job. 10 reps there. How many more could you have done in that set with good form? And you're like,
ooh, damn, coach, that was pretty tough. I could do maybe 2 more reps with good form. And I say,
okay, 2 more reps. Good to know. So that's about 2 reps in reserve. That would be about 8 out of 10. Does that sound right? 8 out of 10 difficulty.
yeah, coach, that sounds about right. Probably 8 out of 10. Boom. So that's your reps in reserve. So 2 reps in the tank would be 8 out of 10. 1 rep in the tank would be 9 out of 10. You just subtract the difference in the numbers. It kind of is the same thing as RPE, so rating of perceived exertion. So you'd say, oh, how hard was that? That was a 10 out of 10, coach. That was 100%. I could do no more. So you're like, okay, you could literally do 0 more reps. That was your absolute failure. That was your absolute maximum. That was if you did 10 reps, that was your 10 rep max. If you did a 1 rep squat and you do 300 pounds and you're like, I couldn't do any more, there's no way. That's your 1 rep max. That's 10 out of 10 RPE, 0 reps in reserve. You can play with it, but basically the goal is that each week consistently, you want to do the same main boring compound lifts. Don't do the fancy shit you see on Instagram. You can do that at the end of your workout if you have time, but like watch Arnold videos, watch Chris Bumstead videos, watch the legends in the sport who have the most defined physiques. Look at what they do. They all do the same things. Everyone does the same movements. There's no magic pill, but the magic pill is week 1 you did 100, week 2 you do 105, week 3 you do 110, week 3 you do this. Maybe you lower your rest time. Maybe you do an extra set. Maybe you do an extra few reps. And then this compounds, if you've ever read the book Atomic Habits, like this 1% incremental gains, they compound so hard that eventually one day you look in the mirror and you're like, holy fuck, I'm jacked. I look amazing. Or, oh my God, you get under the bar and you do 2 plate squat, or you do a 2 plate bench press, or you do your first pull up, or you do a Nordic curl and you're like, I'm a tank. And it's like, that didn't come from hopping around at different workouts every time. It's, I'm going to do the same ish kind of movements and I'm just going to get really good at them and I'm going to slowly progress them. So that is progressive overload. That's kind of the overview on what it is, how it works, all that stuff like that. Now, this can apply to endurance sports if you're like training for an Ironman. For today, we're using a weight room example because it's easier, but we will use endurance examples and stuff in future videos. But that is all for today's video. If you have questions about if any of this was unclear, you want like, further clarification or questions, just post them down below in the comments. I will answer your question. So, consider me your free online fitness resource if you don't already have a bunch that you like. And I will try to answer your questions if I can be of assistance. But yeah, that's it for today. I am Lee McFadden, and I hope you found some value in this video. Go get some.